Why, hello there again, Blanche. I'm about to review your class, so what a good timing. I just finished a Ranger review, Ranger class review, and now I want to move on to Wing Diver class review. And actually, the last three classes, Wing Diver, Air Raider, Fence, are going to be very controversial, probably, to some people, but we'll save the opinions for the end. I'm just going to do a review at the beginning here. As far as the Wing Diver class, actually, this is probably my most played class of the EDF series. I've always enjoyed the Wing Diver, very fun. I've always loved the energy management that was involved in Wing Diver class. As far as like you have to decide when you have to reload, what weapons you can take. Like, can you take really expensive energy costing weapons and be more in danger, or do you need to take, you know, one of each to try and make sure you're still mobile? Very fun. But however, in EDF 4, I was disappointed with the lack of variety in the good weapons you could take. It seemed like it always came down to rapier thrust, Idun, and the monster. Just seemed like those were the main three weapons you would always see, and that kind of was disappointing because I like a variety of weapons. And plus, also her grenades were pretty bad, which is kind of disappointing, and her homing weapons were also pretty disappointing as well in EDF 4. However, in EDF 5, there's been a lot of changes to the Wing Diver class. With the addition of a dash now, that's really changed up just how Wing Diver plays and how strong she is. Of course, there's also charge weapons now, where you hold down the trigger to charge a weapon up and then release to fire. And then also other weapons such as the laser and the thunderbow and the Idun, like they completely changed up how the weapon actually performs, which is very different. So a lot of changes with Wing Diver, and I would probably say she's probably the most changed class in the game. Even though Ranger has had a lot of changes, I think she's pretty close to it. Let's get right onto the review really quickly here. Let's talk about her short range combat. For short-range combat, I give her a 10 out of 10. I think she is the best short-range combat fighter, and the reason is, for one, she has a dash, so she's able to quickly dash close to the enemies and then dash quickly away. So that gives her a positive as far as safety in fighting close-range combat. She has a bunch of options this time around for close-range combat. She has the lances. These things are amazing, very strong, very low energy cost. She has the dragoon lances, which are more energy cost, but one huge blast that shoots through enemies. She has, of course, the rapier and the phalanx this time, which is very strong. She even has, I would say, even the Stardust Cannon is a good option for fighting close range. Very strong if you can get all those projectiles on the one target. So, because of this, she has so many options to fighting close range, and all of them are very strong. I also think she's also the easiest to fight close range, like I said, because of her ability to fly. So, because of that, I really feel like she is probably the strongest, and she definitely earns a 10 out of 10 for close range combat. Now, I want to add something as far as crowd fighting. It's because I think that's a little bit of a weakness for her. Not a weakness, but it's not her strength. And that would be, she has a lot of weapons to fight close range, but a lot of them are single target attacks. Even the Dragoon Lance that shoots through targets is also, I mean, it attacks more than one target, but it's still primarily used as a single target attack. So, as far as crowds, I would probably give her a 7 out of 10, because she has to, primarily to use crowd, she has to primarily use the plasma launchers, which aren't terrible, but they're not mainly for close range crowds. It's mainly for flying in the air and shooting the plasma shots. So she's definitely a good, strong single target, but not necessarily the strongest crowd fighter. But still, she can definitely hold her own with crowds for sure, just because she can fly. Now let's move on to long-range combat. For long-range combat, I give her an 8 out of 10. The reason is, I would say that I think she is it's easier for her to snipe than other classes. Like, for example, the Fencer is a very strong sniper, and he probably is the strongest sniper in the game, but his negative is he has to stand still, he's locked in place, and you have to use items to counter the you don't have to, but it's good to use items to counter the kickback for his weapons. So because of that, and also his weapons arc, they don't shoot 100% straight. So because of that, it's more difficult for him to snipe. So I think she is the easier class to snipe as. She has good, strong options, and also she's stronger than Ranger on Inferno. So I think she is probably one of the best snipers in the game, mainly because of the Raijin. The Raijin is very strong. You can charge it up and release a shot. It has a 631 meter range. It does 100,000 damage. The monster, if you saw my video about the monster of how the damage isn't accurate as what it says, it's still strong. I mean, it still does 9,000 to 10,000 damage on this one, and you can fire it more than once. So, I mean, if you think about that in Ranger, as far as, you know, against Ranger would love to have a sniper that shoots through targets, does 10,000 damage, and you can shoot it like 3 or 4 times before you reload or overheat. I mean, I think she's still a very strong sniper. The bolt shooters and the laser, the LSRLs, unfortunately, are still pretty weak in this game, which is kind of disappointing. But yeah, but she has other options for like the monster level 55 as well, and then of course she has a level 36 Raijin. But in addition to that, the nice thing about Wingdiver is she has more options for range than just this. She also has the Geist. The Geist is absolutely amazing this time. They increased the speed of the projectile. I would guess it felt like 3 times of what it was before. So this thing's very strong for long-range targets, especially for colonists and cosmonauts. She also has the Stardust Cannon, which is also good for range. If you notice that the Stardust Cannon is on every list I've made as far as short range, crowds, and long range, it's because it's an amazing weapon. So definitely give it a try if you haven't tried this weapon. This is good at range. It has the range of 480 meters, absolutely ridiculous. No damage fall off. And then of course the level 55 plasma launcher, I would say, is one of her best sniper rifles. This thing shoots straight, very strong, and it's also good on crowds too. So this is an amazing range weapon. And then last of all, I would even include the Thunder Crossbow on there. I think it's a decent weapon. It's got good accuracy at long range. It comes to a point, and it's low energy cost, and it's pretty fun. So especially the DLC one. So like I said, she has a lot of options for range fighting, and she may not have the best sniper rifles anymore, but because of all the options she has, I give her 8 out of 10. Alright, on to mobility. For mobility, I give her a easy 10 out of 10. I would even go higher if I could. The reason is, if you think about in EDF 5, just her ability to dash now has really changed how mobile she is quite a bit. And with the addition of the fact that she can fly, and it's probably the easiest to maneuver while she's fighting, you know, maneuver away from the enemies. And also, she's less learning curve than Fencer, because Fencer does like a quick dash and then has to jump, so he can't really alter himself in the air, his trajectory. So it makes it easier for her to actually fly around and be more accurate in her flight. Also, her dash is very cheap as well. If you notice, like the dash is not something used in emergency, it's used like literally all the time because of how cheap it is. So with those things, she definitely is the most mobile, the easiest, and she also rivals the fastest movement in the game with the 100% dash. She's very, very close to the fastest movements in the game, so she definitely is the most mobile. Now, as far as last of all Inferno goes, I give her a 9 out of 10 on Inferno. I am very comfortable in taking the Wingdiver class on Inferno missions, and I think she is probably one of the strongest on Inferno. So I think that maybe Air Raider is probably better than that, but Wingdiver is definitely up there as one of the best. And now let me quickly go over the pros and the cons of this class. The pros go, as far as the pros go, she's very easy to use. She has very strong burst damage, which is very nice because of just the lances and the snipers and so forth. She has a good variety of weapons this time around. It's not just, you know, 3 weapons used all the time. There's good reasons to use a lot of these weapons, and that's very enjoyable to use. Very enjoyable as well about the class. She's easy to navigate all the map types, whether it be vertical heights or trying to navigate through tight cities. It's very easy because of her ability to fly and dash, and she's the best close-range fighter, I think, in the game. Now, as far as the cons, there's not too many, honestly. It took me a while to try and figure out some of these cons. One of the biggest things is you have to manage energy with the wing diver, so that can be a little tricky when you start out. Also, she requires a very accurate, high accuracy when you're playing as her, because usually you're going to be using the lances, and you have to be pretty accurate with your shots. And if you miss, then you know it's a lot less effective class. Of course, and also her snipers, you have to be accurate because they are single shot snipers. They're not multiple shots. So with that does make it a little bit more difficult to play as her. And then also, last of all, the slow armor gain. She's the slowest one to gain armor in the game, so that makes it a little bit more difficult. But that's about all I can think of for cons. Now I want to cover the my opinions on this class.
Controversy alert, controversy alert, please. I am not creepy, I promise you. Please love me. I am not creepy. Okay, bye.
Like I said, I played this class probably the most of all the classes. I really enjoy the wing diver class, but this opinion is going to be based on my desire for Inferno to be a challenge for veteran players, because being that there's 5 difficulties in the game, I feel like it's not unreasonable to want Inferno to be for veteran players that play a lot and that are very experienced and want to work together as a team to beat the hardest missions. And so that's what my opinion is going to be based off of. As far as right off the bat, the weapons, I'm very, very happy with Wing Diver class as far as the weapon options she has. She has a lot of good options, and it's not just rapier thrust and idun. There's actually a lot more options this time, and I see a lot of options online that people take, so it's very, very cool. And the class feels very fresh again to me, and I've actually been enjoying that. She also has new power weapons now, like, for example, one of her new power weapons is the Dragoon Lance, or the Triple Lance, or Stardust Cannon. Like, these are brand new weapons to EDF, and they're very powerful and useful on Inferno, so that's pretty cool. Now, as far as Inferno goes, I feel like Inferno is too trivial with the Wing Diver. The way I think about it is this. If you think about her dash, just adding a dash to the game alone, not even like 200% dash, but just a dash alone, think about this in respect that she has doubled her speed in this game, but the enemies have not changed their speed in the EDF series. And then on top of that, you add a jet core and at 100% dash speed, she has literally tripled or higher her speed, and yet, like I said, once again, the enemies have not increased their speed. So, and with her dash being very cheap, it's actually can be used all the time. So, the way I look at it is there's only 2 options, it seems. They would have to speed up the enemies in addition to speeding up Ranger class so that he would be able to compete, or slow down the Wing Diver and the Fencer. And honestly, either one of those options are fine with me, but I think the more practical way would be to slow down the 2 classes, because I really miss the energy management that there was in EDF 4, where you'd be chased by hordes of enemies, and you wouldn't be able to get out of... You'd be able to stay safe, but you wouldn't quite be able to get away from them, so you'd have to be constantly thinking about energy as far as when I could reload, or what weapons I can take that I can safely, navigate this large crowd of enemies. And it was very fun just trying to fight crowds as they were chasing you barely at your heels. And now it's never, that never happens, because you can just simply dash away and then recover your energy and then go back to the battle and fight, because she's so fast. I do love the dash in the game. I don't want them to get rid of the dash. It's very fun to just dash through the air and one-shot enemies, and it's very exciting and very skill-based as far as being accurate with that. But the ability, like I said, for her to get away from enemies so fast just makes Inferno very trivial, and it's kind of disappointing to me. I feel like they should make the dash cost more higher, so that it can be used more as an emergency rather than a constant movement. Or at the same time, like I said, I enjoy the dash, so maybe just either increase the enemy speed or slow down the Wing Diver. as far as her weapons go, there are some things that probably need to be changed. I like this first column here is I like how there's a good variety of weapons you can take. For example, the Dragoon Lance is very, very strong, very, very fun burst damage. I like the change they made to the rapier. I like how this rapier is a magazine rapier, and then the rapier thrust is changed to this one where you have to charge it up because it's so strong. So I really like the change to that. Plus it has more range, but it has damage fall off, so it kind of makes it there's like reason to take both of these rapiers in a battle, which is pretty cool. And some of the spark whips are okay, but unfortunately the ones that shoot straight in a single line just don't seem very good. I think they need to increase the damage on these, or make them all like fan pattern to be a useful option, I think, in my opinion. I would like to see the damage reduced on the rapiers and the phalanx, as well as the Dragoon Lance, on Inferno, that is. The reason I say this is because you can stun a Silver King Spider with the phalanx, and I think that's ridiculous. You shouldn't be able to stun a Silver King Spider until he's dead. That's just too much damage, in my opinion. I want the Silver King Spiders to be, you know, threat, including other bosses too. Like, she can just absolutely destroy them and stun them, and they have no threat to her. So I think because of that, they should reduce the damage probably in half, because if you think about it, they increase the damage by ridiculous numbers compared to EDF 4. I'm not sure why they did that, but they chose to do that. So I would like to see them bring it back down to EDF 4 damage, honestly. The lasers, unfortunately, they need a change. I feel like there's two ways you can fix it. You can either increase the damage of the laser, or you can reduce the energy cost of the laser. Because I don't necessarily mind if they want to keep the laser like this, where it starts out strong and then gets weaker, but if you do that, you need to make it a lot stronger. So that would be, I think, the best way to fix it, and it'd still be a fun mechanic. Or, like I said, reduce the energy cost way, way down so that you can be constantly reloading, but I think that'd be less fun. Also, increase the damage of all these. Like, these are all very low damage, and it's kind of unfortunate. So they need to definitely increase them, probably by double. The DLC one's okay, but that's about it, because I really miss using the laser, honestly. And I only use level 59 now on hardest. So, or hard. I don't know if you can use on hard or not. As far as this column, once again, I don't mind the changes to these weapons, because if you want to change it up, that's fine. But the problem is you need to increase the damage for sure. The lightning bow for sure needs increase in damage to be usable. I mean, it's fine, but the problem is it gets so inaccurate right away that I think you need to increase the damage to alter for that, because I rarely use this weapon, and I mean, it's not terrible, but it's outshined by so many other weapons. Thunderbow is pretty cool, but I think the damage should be increased on it. I really like how it's a single shot when you need it, and it can be used at range or close range. So I would like them to keep that the same, but just increase the damage for sure on these, and I think they'd be used more often. The bolt guns are fun, but I think they need to reduce the energy cost on those. But other than that, that's the changes I can think for this column. This column I think is pretty cool. The Stardust Cannon is very fun. Very good. I think they need to reduce the range of it. I think it's a little bit too good, because you can stun Queen Wasp from far away. You can stun so much. I mean, I don't understand why the range is so high. I think if anything, it's dangerous because you can pull the map with it too. But I think they need to cut that range down to like 200, something like that. But I guess the damage is fine, but it's very, very high. The pulse machine guns, I would like to see the damage increase to them. I think they're useful. I like how you don't have to charge them all the way. They're still the same damage, whether it's charged halfway or full. But it needs a larger blast radius, I think, and I think it'd be more enjoyable, because I think that's what they're trying to go for, was like a crowd control machine gun. And in order to do that, I like to see the blast radius up to like 10 meters or so, something like that, if they want to keep the damage as it is currently. As far as the snipers, unfortunately they need to increase the damage of the closed lasers and the bolt shooters to be useful. They do have some DLC ones that are strong, but these that are already in the game are pretty weak, and it's kind of unfortunate, because I like these weapons, but they're just never competable compared to the Raijin or the Monster. So I like to see the damage increase for sure on these. Plasma launchers, I think they made a lot of good changes to plasma launchers. This time around, there's so many useful ones now. It's absolutely ridiculous because of this energy cost is so low. So, I'm pretty happy with them for the most part. The plasma fall is definitely an interesting change to the plasma fall, but I think it needs, I don't know, I think it needs more damage or a larger blast or something, because shooting a straight line, it hasn't been too effective in my opinion, and I think it's just because of the damage, honestly. The plasma burst cannons are fine. The grenades, I think, are fine. The only thing I think they need to change on, in my opinion, on these is the level 55 and the level 15. I really feel like they need to lower the damage. As much as I hate to say that, I think that 22,649 damage with a 36-meter blast is just too good, and it shoots straight. And I don't know, I just feel like it makes Inferno too trivial, and like I said, once again, that's my main concern. I really enjoy Inferno being a challenge, and doing this much damage from such a safety, and the energy cost is pretty low with your energy cores being so high later on, that it's just, I think it's a little bit too strong, and I would like to see it probably, I don't know, 12,000 or something, maybe 15,000, but even that's pushing it just because maybe if it overheated you would be fine, I don't know. It's just, I think it's too strong, and it's something I like to see change a little bit. Her homing weapons, I think, are good this time around. I think everything is perfect. Maybe increase the damage of the side blades so they're more useful. And also, I think the Fenrir also could probably use some damage increase, just because it's not used too often, just because of how much energy cost it uses. But I'm really happy with the change they did to the Mirage and the Geist. And last of all, special grenades. I'm very happy with special grenades. I think they're perfect. I think they don't need really changes, honestly. I think they're very, very good, very, very good spot, and they're useful. Each of them are useful in their own ways. I would like to see, though, another Starburst. This is a DLC weapon. I'd like to see an actual, higher level version of this thing, because that thing is very, very cool. But yeah. So that's the changes I would want to make for Inferno personally. Let's see. Let's take out the jet core really quickly. The main thing I have with Wing Diver is just the encounters seem a lot more trivial, and it's disappointing to me. This is. Let me go ahead and pull this whole map. Alright, let's go ahead and get out of here now. So, I'm going to pull those two. So, you would never, ever be able to do this in EDF 4 with Wing Diver. You would have to fight that crowd of enemies. You would be able to fly away, you'd be able to stay safe, but you wouldn't be able to literally pull the entire map and be in no threat. That is the problem I have with EDF 5. I love this game, like I said. I love the dash. It's very fun, but you should not be able to pull the map on Inferno, the whole map on Inferno, and have no threats of being caught. Because, like I said, it makes the game trivial on Inferno, except when you're actually engaging in the battle. So that's the change. That's the problem I have with the game as it stands. Let's go ahead and grab these two. Why not? We need them all here. Hello, how you doing? And like I said, especially with the 100% dash, they have no chance to catch you. I mean, sure, you can be caught by tadpoles and wasps still, but for the most part, enemies on the ground just aren't much threat, and especially when there's buildings and so forth, that they just have no chance. So if they could somehow address that and figure out a way to keep the dash, I'd be happy. I think increasing the enemy's speed, like I said, I think it'd be too tough for Ranger. I mean, you could always make Ranger twice the speed, but I think speeding up the enemies would be very difficult as far as programming wise. So I think honestly slowing her down would be the answer. So that's personally what I would like to see. So that's mainly my problem with Wing Diver. I love the Wing Diver class a lot though, and I still use a decent amount, but if I want a challenge, I find it more difficult to want to take her. So that's just my opinions. So once again, I'd like to know how you view the Wing Diver class, what you think about it, and if you're happy with it or things you'd like to change. I do read all the comments. So yeah, that's my review for Wing Diver, and then we'll be on to Air Raider next. So once again, thanks a lot for watching, and remember, EDF doesn't leave a man behind, ever. And if you're interested in ways to support the channel, please consider liking the video or watching a few ads, as it does help financially. It's very much appreciated. Thanks a lot.